Season 2, Episode 8, Berkman Greater Than Block.
Welcome to Starting Now, a Barry podcast, presented by Cinemasins.
Hello, everybody. This is Starting Now, the Barry podcast. I am Chris Atkinson with Barrett Sher.
Hello!
And Mike Hester.
Hey, everybody.
This is the season finale of Season 2.
Yeah.
And, had some debate with the guys before we got on here. Is this Berkman greater than Block, or is this Berkman more than Block?
Yeah.
I think you can see it both ways, actually. Mm-hmm. Because just from the tiny the sort of the tiny definition differences, Berkman more than Block means that you're more Berkman than you are Block, but Berkman also might mean that he's a better person or greater person than Block. Mm-hmm. I don't know.
I read it as Berkman is, an elite hitman and a very average at best actor.
Yeah.
And reading the tea leaves going into this episode and trying to think, because really trying to figure out what in the world is going to happen, realizing that the acting thing maybe isn't going to go great here and the killing thing is going to go good for him. So, and I think that played out.
Yeah. The beginning of this episode is sort of the continuation of what we saw at the end of episode 7. But more Barry running towards the situation. Barry is trying to get to Fuchs before he kills Gene. I don't know if he even knows that's what's happening. I think he's really hoping that he gets there before Gene sees anything. But that ship's definitely sailed at this point.
That's a good point.
Because he gets there and Fuchs is already on his way. What we see Fuchs do before Barry gets there is he has the gun pointed at Gene, but he can't do it. Mm-hmm. He can't kill him. Mm-hmm. And he ends up whispering something in his ear that it's one of those things. It's one of those lost in translation things at first, right?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
You're like, holy shit, what did he just say? And then he runs off as the cops are descending on the area.
Yeah. When the cops are coming in, that's when he brings the gun down. Mm-hmm. And it's almost like that was that got him out of this little trance he was in or something.
Even if they didn't show up, he wasn't going to do it.
No,
right?
he wasn't going to do it, but that's the thing that kind of got him
out.
out.
Yeah.
Do you think he's ever killed anybody before?
This is the thing. I think that this show really they have certain character traits that are not broken. The cops are incompetent, Barry is naive, Sally is neurotic or whatever, and Fuchs can't kill. He can't do any of this. At no point he has to have Barry. So even when he gets to the point where he has a point blank shot, he can't do it.
So even bad guys, do you think he's never offed him himself?
I don't think he is.
I agree with you. I don't think he's ever killed anybody.
I don't think he has. And in fact, there is a moment that later on in this episode that I believe is going to be, I'm going to take him at his word on this, just because there's no reason for him to lie in the episode. But Barry does get there. Gene is so distraught at what he's seen, and I don't blame him, that he's not really paying attention to anything. Barry gets there, and I don't think Gene's even really that much aware that Barry is there.
No, he's catatonic. He's literally catatonic.
Yeah, he is where he was at the beginning of the season.
Yeah.
And Barry goes to the trunk and closes the trunk, and we don't know if he's done anything or not at this point, but he's gone to the trunk and he closes
he definitely reached in. We know that much.
Yeah, and I didn't catch that on the first watch,
didn't
by
either.
the way.
I didn't either.
And even because I had forgotten what happened.
Yeah.
And even then I was like, what did he just do? And you see that he's thinking so quickly, which is, I guess, like a trait that he's got. Be able to be on the move and think quickly and to solve situations. But that little thing is a huge thing later on.
Mm-hmm.
It is amazing to me, and this happened to me in episode 7 as well. The first time I watched it, you were taken on such an emotional roller coaster ride. I didn't realize till the second time how much I missed. I missed so many things because I was just completely overlooking it.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like how Gene completely misses that he just had something whispered in his ear.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
he's in a far worse emotional place, and that's why I've seen some people debate that. How could he have not heard that? But I kind of get it.
I totally get it. I think I don't know if any of us have been in that kind of distress, but like I hope not. But I've been there where like I'm singularly focused on one thing, and there's all sorts of people coming in trying to say stuff, and it just doesn't register.
Exactly. And you might realize it the next day or something.
Yeah.
Maybe.
We are taken to the station on the next scene. Barry and Gene. Gene's been arrested. Barry is being told to sit down by Detective May, and May lays it out and says that, I think you're protecting him and all that. Now here is the biggest plot hole of the entire series right here. She says, "Oh, you guys just happened to be in the woods next to the car where Janice was, that we searched these woods for months." And unless the cops were lying to Gene in the first episode of this season, that didn't happen. They didn't search the woods. The Bloach specifically said, "We're not going to search the woods." That was a big moment in the first episode.
You can almost wonder if Loach was lying to cover up their incompetence and not being able to find it. That's how I explained it to myself, but you kind of have to make something up to make that work.
Yeah, I feel like if there was a massive search, Gene would have known about it.
Yeah. No, that's a very good point.
Yeah, I don't know how to explain it. Maybe she's lying.
There's obviously lying explanations in here, but there's the way the show is presented. I feel like I have to take one of these things at face value.
Yeah.
And which one do I take? If I'm supposed to think that they really did search the woods for a month, how did they miss?
Yeah, it's not like it was that far away. I mean, Barry was able to run within a minute or two.
Yeah.
Or so
and it took Fuchs like, a night of getting scared of animals and like, couple of wayward misses here and there, and he found it.
Well, I guess the other theory would be that either she's lying or that maybe she just doesn't know because she really wasn't involved.
Yeah,
right? She only became Loach's partner after Janice got killed. So, but you can kind of explain it away.
If that's the case, then she should know whether there was a search or not. She's in the room when he says we're not going to search, and I guess if you maybe sorta think that Gene is the guy, and you tell him, we're not going to search the woods. Maybe you try to get his guard down, something. There is something like that, but the show really, if that was an issue, I feel like the show would have made a point to say this happened or didn't.
Yeah.
And instead they've just contradicted themselves in a big way. Now, this ultimately is a mountain out of a molehill that I'm making about this one thing, but that is a huge, like, the reason why a lot of this plot happens is they don't go out and search for Janice's body. So, anyway, just wanted to bring that up. She thinks that Barry's protecting Gene, but they can't hold him on anything. So they let him go.
They also have no evidence that Fuchs was there.
Yeah.
Because that's their defense. That's what he's saying is that, there's this Goulet character that was there that made the call. And again, the incompetence, there have to have been footprints. There had to have been some sort of evidence there.
Yeah, for sure.
A voice print or something like that where the cops have their minds made up.
And that's another thing. Is like, later on, she's like, there's a voice. It sounds a lot like you. And you're like, I've watched this episode twice, and Fuchs sounds nothing like Gene.
No, not at all.
I mean, maybe in a hushed whisper he sounds like Gene. I just can't. I can't.
I guess they're trying to get a confession out of him.
Yeah,
but like, and I assume people, do this. The cops do this all the time. But it's really just laziness.
Yeah,
on their,
yeah. we cut over to Hank and the Chechens, who are fresh off of their bus escape, and they have taken over that monastery.
Mm-hmm.
And Hank, his usual hilarious self, it's like Enter Dragon. It's funny, it's just taking out one little article out of a title of a movie makes it funny for some reason. Enter Dragon. Like, you can't say Enter the Dragon.
Enter Dragon. And look, this all has to go.
Yeah,
this is
and he's like,
weird.
why is this here? Like,
But you can tell right away that he has completely lost all these guys.
Yeah.
They're following Mary back, and he's talking, and they don't pay any attention. They just walk out and go into these other rooms.
yeah, he's talking out loud basically to himself, and then he's like, well, you know what would be nice is we had a table in here for the heroin and everything. And the next scene, he's on a Bluetooth talking to somebody. He's like, yeah, and like like a wood finished marble maybe. And he's like, oh no, it's for heroin. and then he gets a second call that comes in, and that's Batir, who we've heard about since second, third, maybe first episode of the season.
Yeah, because he gets a bullet in the first episode.
Yeah. The Batir is coming, and he's here. He's at the Ontario airport,
Of course,
which is a callback. He's at the Ontario airport. He's coming in. He's basically saying, I'm going to take over. You're going back to Chechnya.
Mm-hmm. You wonder if something's gotten back to them about how things have been going down.
I would have to say,
surely that's what's happened.
That has to. I mean, just by sheer osmosis, if these guys are talking to people back home, it's gotten to Batir somehow, if not directly.
Mm-hmm.
But also, aren't they making money? I know that the collaboration conceptually isn't good because they killed Goron and all that, or they think they killed Goron. But like,
they have the
it
stash
seems to
house.
be profitable.
They have the stash house, and there is a ton of merchandise in that stash house when we've seen it.
Like,
so,
yes, you can say that Hank's methods aren't the normal Chechen gangster way, but up until when he tries to subvert Esther, seems to be doing all right.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
if he's lost the relationship with Cristobal, then he would be done.
Well,
and that is Hank's biggest thing, that he's able to be friends or whatever with Cristobal, able to have them be a team, and to have this stash house. If he's lost that, then the Chechens have nothing. And at this point, he certainly lost the relationship with Cristobal.
Well, sure, but between
and he's lost the rest of his crew.
Between then and between when they get captured to this point, nobody's called the Chechens, right? Nobody's said like, "Hey, we need to replace Hank."
No.
You know what I mean? Like, up until he got captured, I think things were going okay.
Yeah, they're going okay. He was definitely in charge, but after all of this, it's a mess. Somehow it got back to them what's going on, and there's like, okay, this guy has no value anymore.
Yeah.
So
yeah, if it wasn't Meyerbeck himself who just called Batir and said, you need to get some real leadership.
it's possible because Meyerbeck's a real leader. Yeah, I could totally see him doing that. So.
I love that scene because he's like, what we need over here is like a table, heroin table, you could say.
Yeah.
I've got 50 kilos coming. Oh my God. Great sight gag where he's got the Bluetooth on there and he's on the laptop.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And he's like, he's like, I can find a table like this on Pinterest, but not Amazon.
Yeah, that's great.
We cut to Barry in his car getting a call from Hank. Hank is like, could you come out here and talk to these guys? Because he knows that the Chechens really love Barry. Barry's a hero to them. If Hank can get Barry to come out and say, hey, follow Hank, they will follow Hank. Yes. But Barry doesn't have time for this. He's got way too much on his mind now, and he's a completely like tunnel vision person at this point. Gene is in trouble. He's got a lot of there's a lot of like possibility that he could get caught in all of this. He doesn't have, he's got only one singular focus at this point. But he gets out of the car and Sally's like, how was the audition? And he goes, it was great. It was blah, blah, blah. And she goes, I don't even need an explanation.
That was cold.
That
man.
was cold.
Yeah.
That was really cold.
I was with her in that last episode where, things got blurted out that maybe shouldn't have and everything. But And she's right, you know, like all the stuff that, you know, that's happened is really unfair, but now that's just straight up mean.
Yep.
She has tunnel vision too, and she's overwhelmed.
Absolutely. And this is one of those things where you see how two people can be responsible for something happening. If Barry's a little bit more attentive, then what happens later doesn't happen.
Yeah.
If she's a little bit more attentive, then things, you know, then it does, you know, the things that happen don't happen. They're both to blame for, or to credit, or whatever happens later on. But Barry sees the theater and he's like, wow, holy crap. This is the first time he's actually seeing it. 400 seats.
There's a balcony.
Yeah. And she says she's still like in that fuck you mode. She's like, okay, yeah, there's a lot of seats.
We get it. Yeah.
You know? What's funny though is that, again, she's already seen the theater and he hasn't, because of his own his own failings. He hasn't seen it. Mm-hmm. She was exactly like he was when she saw the theater the first time. But now she's over it. She's seen it. If he could have been primed, you know, he wouldn't be so like awestruck about it and everything. So there's this big preparation going on, and you're talking about Natalie and the microphone and all this stuff.
So great.
Yeah.
It's always feeding back. She's like, all right, everybody places. It's your scene. And she's just walking around with this handheld fucking like speaker. And it's like,
and we have, what's the guy's name?
Jermaine?
Jermaine.
I'm really happy that Jermaine gets his scene here.
Yes.
I thought that was cool and legitimately moving.
Yeah, it was.
Because he figured something out about himself.
Exactly. It sounds like at first he was just going to go with this straight up, my father got abducted by alien story. But then he realizes, I saw my father as a homeless man begging for money. And he's like, oh, wow. He says that in the middle of the thing. And it's like, wow, exactly. Yeah. It's probably out of all the stories that are being told by these actors, the only one aside from Sally's that has any kind of truth to it.
And by the way, he's good.
Yeah.
He's good when he's telling this. Like, there's a little bit, and it's got to be hard for good actors to play bad actors.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But there's a little bit of like awkwardness when he puts the money down and all that stuff, which you would totally buy like a community theater actor. But he is legitimately good. I hope they flesh out his character a little bit more.
And then when they say, would want him to know that he's still my hero.
Yeah.
That to me was honest and real and kind of devastating.
Oh, hell yeah. Hell yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then everybody else is nuts.
Yeah.
All the other stories are.
Oh my God. The next scene is Gene getting interrogated by Detective May. And this is such a sad thing to see because Gene isn't in any position to defend himself. And maybe he's even blaming himself. We don't know, but he's catatonic still. And she's trying to come up with this narrative that, that he's the one who did it and everything. And that, I mean, he does kind of like say, well, there was this Goulet character and they can't find him. And the voice on the recording sounds like you. But he's not in that position to just say that's not me or anything like that. He's just more thinking about that body that he just saw, which I can only imagine that's what would be in your head for, days, weeks, months.
And again, this closes the book that Janice is definitely dead. But we never see her.
No.
Well, and I think this is more about they just didn't want to get the actress back to play that.
Yeah. But this closes the book because up until now there was a chance that even when he opens the trunk, because you only see like her sneakers or something like that. But it's kudos to them for even keeping it an open storyline up until now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, the cops say for the murder.
Yeah.
And so that's it. He is catatonic, and it is emotionally devastating to see him there because you know how bad these cops have been and that they truly believe this. So, in the real world, you would like to think, and maybe it's not like this, but in the real world, you'd like to think that he could say that, no, this is obviously not. None of this is
Dude,
valid.
the Richard Kimball defense.
This is ridiculous, and it all goes away. But
Well, we
Yeah.
know these cops love the easy answers,
Yes,
right?
they do.
Yes.
If it fits.
Yeah, that's why we've seen 2 press conferences where it's like, well, as you can see,
We've put all the pieces together.
these pieces add up to that, so we're not going to investigate any farther. So
I love the way this is shot. Bill Hader directed this episode, and there's a couple of really neat camera techniques in this episode, but he gets right up on Henry Winkler's face. And this vibrant face that's always been animated and all that stuff is completely still. And you see all the wrinkles, and you see, the age and the toll that things have taken on him. And it's a beautiful shot.
So I'd love to know what he had to do to get to that place, because that stillness was just a remarkable piece of acting.
yeah, absolutely. That you're absolutely right, because we haven't, other than at the beginning of the season, which was kind of like half and half comedic and everything, but sadness, but comedic, because I guess he still doesn't really know what happened to her, and there's always the chance that she's alive and all that. Now he's gotten the proof, and that hound dog face and everything. He's lost to the world at this point. We cut to a brief scene where the Chechens are preparing for the Burmese people to show up, and there's going to be a big war and everything. Meyerbeck is like barking orders, and everybody's
He's fucking
like,
Rambo, man.
Hank is sort of like watching this detached. I mean, he's not detached, but he's not a part of this at all. He's just kind of like watching and observing and going, wow, this is really serious. This may be the most serious thing that I've been in, and he's getting kind of worried about what's going on here. And Fuchs shows up and just says, and you're like, okay, what's this all going to be about? Fuchs just kind of shows up. And this is where the show's kind of jumping around. There's a lot of stuff going on. Barry then calls the station and asks about Gene. They said they booked him. He's trying to get updates on him and everything. But then he calls Fuchs and tells him he's dead.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Let me ask you about that, because when Fuchs comes up to Hank and says, I need an army, does he need an army because he knows Barry is coming after him?
I'm guessing, yes.
Because the opening shot, I think, or not the opening shot, but one of the early shots in the episode is of Barry walking out of the station and calling Fuchs and saying, I'm coming for you, I'm going to fucking kill you.
Yeah.
Which is a bad thing to leave on a voicemail, by the way.
Yeah.
As an aside, we've been watching for 2 seasons. Has no one tapped their phones or anything? You just think of all the texts from Noho Hank.
No, I know.
Just kill the guy.
Yeah.
Like, what? Really?
Because they tapped Goron's phone, but that was a landline, so maybe that was the deal.
Maybe that's different. They just completely don't care what they say on a cell
No,
phone
they don't
at
care.
all, and that's been consistent for the whole season.
But that's what it sounds like.
Yeah, I assume he knows that if Barry's coming after me, there's going to be some shit going down.
Yeah.
And I guess, I mean, and we'll get to this later, because there's more. It just keeps jumping around. But I guess we can go. I'm going to go ahead and jump up to this point, because Hank and Fuchs are having this discussion, and Hank doesn't know the extent of Fuchs and Barry's fallout. Hank still thinks that they need Barry, so that because he's like Chechen goon whisperer or whatever, and there's that great line too where Fuchs is like, "We're not seeing eye to eye," and he goes, "Well, you guys are like Fleetwood Mac. Then you break up and you get back together again. You make a great album, the very best of best of Fleetwood Mac." So Fuchs knows that there's no way that that Barry can be in this situation at all, because he knows Barry's coming to kill him. He's trying to find something that gets him in good graces with everybody. And so that's an interesting little thing there, like that he's still trying to figure out, how can I become important to this group, and how do we get it so that they will kill Barry? But man, we'll get to this in a moment too. I don't know if they're capable of doing it. Barry is their
certainly
hero.
not. Yeah. I don't think emotionally or physically they could do it.
So whether he needs the army to kill Barry, or if it's just for this heroin thing, I really don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know, but it is crazy here that Hank and Fuchs are both wanting to win over this army.
Yeah, because Fuchs actually, Noho Hank is like, yeah, man, go ahead. Like, we'll work with you. But they're not listening to me.
They're
so
not
you're
listening
barking
to him.
up the wrong tree.
So he is hoping that they'll listen to Fuchs, and that's not really working out so well either.
Mm-hmm.
Arabeck just kind of has him taken to some back room or something.
Yeah.
I don't know exactly what his thoughts are, but he is getting ready for this gunfight and doesn't really care about Hank or Fuchs.
Yeah, yeah. In between all of this, there's we see Lindsay and Sally backstage before the show starts and everything, and Lindsay comes in and she's like, "Oh yeah, the mics are here and everything," and Sally wants to get some reassurance. Sally's like, "So they're on board with it." And Lindsay's like holding a program and very tightly in her hands, and she's like, "Oh yeah, they're in it as much as they can be and everything." And Sally's like, "Do you really think that this scene is good and everything and it's going to work?" "Oh yeah, it's going to work." And she starts ripping the program and just throwing totally, it's going to work, and like throwing little pieces to the ground and everything. Sally does pick up on this.
Oh, how could you not?
Well, Sally is very self-absorbed.
Very good point. Very good point.
Sally picks up on this, and this is just adding to her neuroticism as well, because she doesn't quite know that if she's going to go out there and do that emotional, that bared emotion type of thing that she's hoping will resonate and everything. She's still not sure about this. This is why she really needs Barry to be like, yes, do this, and he's not there. He's not there for her.
This is really fascinating to me, where Sally is in this moment and for this entire episode. The first time I watched this, I was so overwhelmed and I had my own emotions, and especially thinking so much about Gene and all these things. Sally's thing, I didn't really connect to. You mentioned a couple of podcasts ago that you didn't think these last two episodes were rushed at all. I thought that Sally was really rushed the first time I saw it, because I was so overwhelmed. All the stuff that she was bringing out, I was just like, I just wasn't ready. I just wasn't ready for all of that to connect with her. The second time I watched it, I'm picking up every little thing and totally understanding Sally's world. This episode takes, I think, at least 2 watchings to pick up everything.
I absolutely agree.
Yeah.
Yes.
The Lindsay thing happens before Hank and Fuchs talk, and then after they talk, Fuchs finally finds his purpose, because the Burmese and Cristobal are all showing up. And pretty funny scene here. Fuchs does this thing we've seen in movies a lot, where somebody starts saying something, and you're sitting there going, how do they even hear what they're saying? Well, in this, they show that they can't hear what he's saying
at all.
Cristobal is like, oh, he's on the Bluetooth. No, he's on the Bluetooth.
So, I think I heard my name.
Yeah, okay, he's talking to us.
Okay.
And Fuchs, as in his greatest talent, has always been talking and negotiating. And he's able to. He goes through this whole thing about. He's somehow able to relate this rift between Hank, Esther, Cristobal with his own shit. He's not talking about them, obviously, when he goes through this whole thing. And this is what we're getting back to when we're talking about, has Fuchs killed anybody yet? And he's like, only somebody without a soul could do that. I can't do that and everything.
Yeah.
And he's talking about, like, you guys are going to come in here and murder, and, you don't want to do that. Of course, Fuchs does that. You're here for, murder, man, it's not cool, And we see, like, right after that, they're all like, Cristobal and Hank they're like, oh, I'm so sorry we did this and that and everything. Hank, Hank's like, I tried to kill Esther. It's like, you tried to kill Esther because you loved me, man. And Esther's standing right over here this whole time. And then there's this embrace that you're like, okay, there's a little bit more going on here.
I think they make that pretty clear that there's a little bit more. They love each other or whatever. There's something else happening.
I love him. So, I love you. Is it cool to say that now?
Yeah.
Just get that out there.
Yeah.
What the Fuchs thing?
Yeah.
Is, I think, Stephen Root's best performance in this entire series.
I wanted to go back to that. Yeah.
There's anger and rage. There's sadness. There's despair. There's the Fuchsian way of getting out of shit.
Uh-huh.
It's good.
And with his words, there's a callback to him not killing Gene earlier. And part of his philosophy of why he, that's a deep part of him, why he couldn't do it. So kind of in his face, he is taking what he's just gone through to convince Cristobal to not do this thing.
And it works.
Well, and because Cristobal, as we've seen, is the nice gangster, right?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
He doesn't want
to
do these things, and
he's found a logical way out of this. So.
And he talked about early on in the season what's actually the most important thing to him is that every country in the world that has McDonald's has never gone to war or whatever.
Yeah.
His belief is that everybody should be nice together. We can make more money this way. Yes, in typical fashion, we should be going to war because that's what the book says.
Yes.
But he's realizing that the thing that's above that is if everybody kind of gets along, we can make lots and lots of money and have a great life so that's how it ends up. Then they get that negotiation done. Is Cristobal is such a reasonable person.
Yeah.
We go back to the show, and I gotta talk about this Sasha thing. This is maybe one of the most brilliant things they've ever done.
Yep.
She's doing this horse story still. And she's got pictures, she's got visual aids, and again, she's just gone through it, and she's telling the 400 people in the audience they just don't get it. she shows us to recap. I saw this, which was a horse. I saw it here, which was in the middle of a city, and when I was only this old. Well, actually, that wasn't me. She's pointing to a picture of just this black girl, and she's like, "Oh, well, that's not me because all my early childhood photos were burned by my uncle while my mom was in the house." And you're like, "That's the story. That's the story you could have told." But she's like, "But you know what? That actually, that doesn't have anything to do with this, does it?"
It's great comedy.
One of the most brilliant things I've ever. Yep. I mean, because you get the sense that she doesn't have a story to tell. And then she just flippantly bypasses something that would have been tremendously exciting to talk about. Oh my God, I love it.
And skipping ahead a little bit later, as she's walking out and Sally and Barry are working on their scene, she says, "Nailed it."
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Love that.
Oh yeah. Sally is asking Barry, and this is a double meaning thing. The best thing to do is to tell the truth, right? And Fuchs has thrown to Barry as in his own life and his own thing that's going on. The best thing would be to tell the truth and let Cousineau go because he doesn't know Cousineau he thinks he's going to be going to jail for a long time at this point. So when Sally says the best thing to do is tell the truth, right, he's actually thinking of that, but it's on his own thing. But she's asking him for this scene where she has done this emotionally raw thing and he's not responding. And again, his non-response is leading to her own actions. And
she knows that without him, she's not going to be able to do the scene correctly.
And he never shows that he's going to be with it. So that's why when they do this excellent one take all the way to the stage and she's like, get into that place or whatever, and then he's just not doing it, and she slaps him.
Yeah, she keeps asking him if he's okay too. She's like, "Are you okay? Are you okay?"
Yeah.
Slaps him, and then she goes, "Stay in that place." And holy fuck, that is such an important thing because he stays in that place because now this is going to lead to everything that comes after this.
It's devastating to me that she hit him when the whole thing is about her.
And this is a real slap. This isn't. This isn't like a stage slap. And she tries to get him to do that choke, and he's not into it. And she's like, "Come on, do it." And then she slaps him. They go out on stage, and it starts off like every time else it's happened. And when it comes the time where she calls him a fucking idiot or whatever, it's time for him to throw that table. She throws the table.
Yeah.
She's the one who takes control, and it goes all the way back to that false narrative that she was trying to tell, where she told Sam off, and she left in a huff and everything. Giving Barry, the actor, nothing to work with, by the way. There's nothing he can do at this point because that character wasn't anything once Sally tells Sam off.
Yeah, his reaction is perfect. You just turn around and walk off.
Yeah.
I love that. I feel like other shows would have had him try to respond or do something else.
Yeah.
And no, he had to walk off.
Yeah, he had to walk off, and she does this scene, and she walks out. Lindsay comes out again apologizing and saying, man, I tried to thrust this on you too fast. I'm sorry. And Sally's like, oh my God, I just went and did the wrong thing. And of course, everybody loved it.
Yeah. Why did she do that, do you think? Why do you think she called an audible? Because it was clear that Barry's in the right place. Like he was starting in there.
I think that the art versus commerce balance beam started happening with Sally. Just
in that moment,
and Barry not responding. I think she's half expecting Barry not to even know what his lines are or be able to deliver them in a believable fashion.
I think even though he comes out and he's delivering them decently, that she can't even see that. She is either he has to be great. She's so much in her own head that he has to be great, or else I have to do this other thing because Gersh is there. This has to be good. And if he doesn't get to that place, this could not be good. Yeah. So I'm going to do this thing and hope,
We've seen how quick she is, like how her brain is just makes a decision in a split second. And if she thinks that Barry isn't going to be on board, then it's time to make it good. It's time to go with the showy thing. So many things contribute to her getting to that point, right? So many things. Barry's not being responsive. If Barry's even the slightest bit responsive, if he can just focus on this just once, the scene goes as normal. But she also probably doesn't get this fake, I guess it's not fake adoration, but it's adoration from people who believe that this is what actually happened. And man, that's so brave. And your story can help so many other people out there. And it's true to life, right? Because that's exactly what people would respond to something like that.
She's ashamed of herself, but again, you go, if you want to be in blockbusters, that's what people want. That's what people want.
I mean, he was saying Star Wars isn't a real story, right? But it was totally rad.
It's totally rad. If you want to be on, a great HBO show that gets a couple million viewers, you act this other way.
Yeah.
And, I respond to I respond to both, really, but you just don't get as big of an audience. And I don't know. She seems to want to be big.
And if she does the one that she wants to do, then though the mics don't come afterwards, and they were talking about all this depressing stuff. Well, that's what her version was going to be, was depressing.
Yes.
And they would not have come out and everything. They would have. The problem is I think a lot of people will look upon the actress as weak rather than the character as weak. And the character's not weak. It's just that they look upon these not offensive actions, they look on something like what she did as something as heroic, but the other way is not. And we talked about that when they were doing the show at the beginning.
Yes.
What looks good on stage that you just left and that's it? You didn't say anything?
No.
Or is it better for you to tell that guy off and everything, and have something the audience can latch on to and say, yeah, that's what I want to be. That's what I want to do.
And I personally think that's fine. Movies are supposed to be kind of dream.
I agree.
And so her inner conflict is, it doesn't have to be there, but she doesn't see the world that way.
But she is obsessed with this exercise as being the root, the etiology of her acting.
Yeah.
And if it's not truthful, what was the point of all the stuff that she went through in the first place? What I do love is that the show itself, Barry, shows us this scene 3 different ways. It's got the you want to choke me, we'll choke on this. Then you have the truth, which was in a couple of episodes ago, which was genius. And then you have this. And so you get to see all the different ones. And in her mind, that's the failure, is that she failed to do this exercise. But yes, I would have enjoyed watching that. I'd be like, fuck you, man. Yeah, that's awesome. I would have the same reaction that the audience did.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, I know. Boy, does that make us really shallow?
No, I go in to see us, and I don't expect to see like actual like scissor wielding, people from the underground.
Exactly.
It's a weird example. It's posters right there.
My point is tried to be that they're different movies for different meanings and different audiences and all of that. And it seems to me, do you guys agree that she wants to be in blockbuster? She wants to be big.
She wants to be a star.
She wants to be on her own terms, but now that Barry has shown that you can just be 6'2" and you can get a movie based on a poster, her delusions about art versus commerce have completely been knocked down at this point. That's why Barry's audition and getting that part and everything is so important to these 2 episodes, is because how much it leads to her realization by the end that I can change this, and then she thinks that she's totally screwed that up, but then she's getting showered with adoration for it.
It's also why, Chris, you are superior to Barrett and myself, because you're taller than we are.
Oh yeah, that's true. I often talk about this.
Yes.
Yes, Barry has so we got Gene's let go from prison for some reason we don't know yet. But he's being led to prison, and the Detective May says, all right, you're ready to go. Do you guys know what the significance of the tile with the little piece?
I don't, but I love it. I just think he's finding something to stare at.
Yes. I think that was a Bill Hader, because we've all had that thing where we're waiting for something, or where we're in a zone basically, and you stare at the most mundane thing, the little crack in a tile or a hole, and I love that brought a lot of humanity to that moment, because he has nothing else to do. His life is in shambles right now, and so he focuses on
they focused on it so long, though. I was looking for deeper meaning.
Like, is it a gunshot or something? I don't know.
Is it a block, as in Barry block?
Yeah.
Is it I mean, what's going on there? But I like that explanation, though. That it's something that he's just singularly focused on. It has no real meaning. It's just that that's how you are when you're in this condition. So Barry calls Gene, and it's Leo, his son, who answers. And this is an interesting thing, and it goes back to the title, I think. He introduces himself as Barry Block. He asks about Gene. Leo says that they're letting him go because they found the Chechen pen in the trunk, the one that says your debt is paid. So Barry obviously knows this and everything, because he does that whole wow, what happened and everything. Barry tells him to tell Gene. What does he tell him to tell him?
People can change.
People can change.
He's going to be all right.
And he goes, well, who is this again? Barry Block. And he goes, Barry Berkman. So he changes to Berkman by the end of that, which is an interesting thing.
I've read that as he left the stage, have almost kind of taken some of his power away from him, and then he's put Gene in danger, and then he did this thing, instinctively put this pin in, and it worked. So Berkman is greater than Block, and he is really feeling that right now. He's feeling like, I'm not an actor at all. I'm this other thing.
Yeah. Everything that I do is Berkman. I know the situation. I'm confident in it. Everything I do is Barry Block. I don't know what's going on.
Exactly.
I do. This has emotional resonance for a few reasons. We had initially talked about the addition of the son being maybe like a weird, what is the Simpsons the addition to Itchy and
Poochie.
Scratchy.
Yeah, Poochie.
Like a Poochie situation. But I think it pays off emotionally to have Leo answer the phone, not only because he's there for his dad, and we actually have like a nice resolution to their relationship, at least for the time being, but then the two sons, because Barry is essentially his son,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
and the two sons talking to each other for the first time and having some sort of like a familial bond. Like, here's what I want you to transmit to your dad through me because I can't do it directly.
Mm-hmm.
And it sets up a lot of cool possibilities of what they can do the next season involving that trio, especially with the realization that he has at the end.
Yeah. Right after this call, Hank texts Barry and says, Fuchs came out and solved the problem. Now he knows where Fuchs is.
Woo, it's on. It's fucking on, baby.
And so, yeah, Barry drives up to the monastery and he is just gun in hand. He's ready to just mow down anybody in his way to get to Fuchs. He goes in there and he just stops. And then Esther sees him and he goes, white boy, Lululemon outfit.
Yeah. Because he still hasn't killed anybody.
Yeah.
No.
I had a question about this when I first watched it. I was like, Fuchs is front and center.
Yeah.
And I'm like, why? Because it comes in as Fuchs.
Yeah.
And I'm like, why didn't he just off him right there? But
Yeah.
it's because he hasn't killed anybody.
Yep.
And he has that moment of hesitation, which we've seen before, especially with Esther, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
He has that moment of hesitation. And I think he initially kills her out of self-defense because she identifies him.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought that was a very cool.
But he's in that emotional state, though.
He definitely is. He
But
definitely is.
Even after that, he had an open shot at Fuchs. Fuchs is right there, and Fuchs then runs away.
He's like, oh shit.
And I trust the scriptwriters of this show enough to believe that they did that on purpose. I feel like he could have killed him. He easily could have killed him, but I guess he hesitated.
Yeah, it would have been nice to see the spatial relationship here, to see how far Barry was to him, and it could have helped a little bit too if Fuchs was a little bit farther back in the room.
Yeah.
And he wasn't an immediately good shot. Fuchs screams and starts running, and now Barry is just blowing everybody away.
Yeah.
This is a whole free-for-all, or he goes through here and just goes just full on, mass murder.
Yeah, and you don't know where the important people are, Cristobal and Hank and all those guys, because they all just scatter.
Yeah.
But yeah, man. Woo! Boom, 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 boom.
So yeah, Barry is going through here and going through the hallway, and he's kicking in doors, and he's just blowing away everybody behind those doors. We see Fuchs get into one room, and there's an exit on the side that he gets out of with two other guys, and Meyerbeck is in this room. And he's ready. I don't think he knows that it's Barry. He doesn't. Which is weird, because it seems like this would have gotten the news would have gotten, but when something so fast is happening, and he's like, you've got you got Bolivians, you've got Burmese, you got Chechens all running around. This news did not travel, and they're introducing him as Barry's mentor all that. And so Meyerbeck's like, okay, yeah, Barry's mentor or whatever, go out this back or whatever. Meyerbeck waits for whoever is doing all this shooting behind the door. And it's a tense scene because he's trained now.
He's a badass.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And Barry kicks open the door, and this is one of the most devastating things.
Yeah.
Meyerbeck sees his hero walking through the door, and he wants to hug this guy. And Barry, just an unthinking, he doesn't think anything about Meyerbeck. Just blows him away like any other person. There's a famous scene in The Wire at the very end where Omar is like this guy who has been one of the main mainstays of the whole series, and he's escaped so many different things, and then the last episode of the entire thing, he goes into this gas station, or this not gas station, but this market or whatever, and gets killed by some rando.
Yeah.
And you think that it's you think that it's a character like that is going to get killed by somebody important or whatever, and it's just it's a random thing to him. To Barry, Meyerback's just a rando.
Yep.
And it's not somebody who like exalted him or anything.
I think in the moment. I think in the moment for sure.
In the moment,
he does come back later on after the rampage, and he looks at him, and to me it seemed like he recognized him afterwards.
Yeah, afterwards.
Afterwards, he recognized.
But everybody's a rando to him right now.
Yeah.
And so, like,
everybody's in his way to get Fuchs.
Yeah, and so yes, he does come back later and does have a moment of reflection. We don't know how that. I think he's just still more angry about Fuchs than anything.
Yeah, he's rage blind.
Yeah,
blinded by rage, I guess. Is a better way.
yeah,
rage blind.
But he goes through that side exit and he just randomly shoots at I don't even know if he knows that there's people that Fuchs is in that truck. He's just shooting at a truck. Up. Yeah, he's just shooting at the truck going by, and then he's like, "Fuck!"
That fuck is great because that's a great fuck.
That's a great fuck. Good job.
It conveys everything. He's frustrated that he didn't get Fuchs, and I think that's the first moment where he just realized what he did. He's starting to kill again. He's killed a lot of people. Like there's a lot of weight on that fuck. You know what I mean?
Yeah. A lot of weight on that fuck.
That's a heavy fuck.
Yeah, man.
Does it bother you at all that in the first season they had the raid and there's such a big deal, and he frankly wasn't very good at it with Taylor?
I don't think he was. I thought he was very good at it. He was trying to plan his entrance when Taylor went all Leroy Jenkins and all that stuff. And yes, he does get snuck up on for sure. But I thought he was fine.
Well,
you're right though. He is surgical in this moment.
But his character's different in different places in both of those.
Yeah.
In the raid scene, he's trying to get out of this life, and he's got a situation where he's got to kill that Taylor guy.
Yeah. And
he just can't do it because he's gotten to this point where it's like that's the wrong thing to do. The bad guy does that. Bad guys kill soldiers. That was a big deal. Now he's in a situation where I don't think he thinks much of himself as an actor anymore. And now he's back to badass mode, and Fuchs getting revenge on Fuchs and all that's snapped him back to a different reality. Yes, if he tried to do this an episode earlier, it would have been the same thing. He would have not been able to pull the trigger.
Yeah.
But
the first time I saw it really bothered me. And then the second time through, I'm starting to letting myself be sold on it. Like, okay, I totally like all the things it did plot-wise. I like that he came back, that he killed again, that he killed Esther, that he didn't kill Hank. I guess it's okay. That he didn't get to Fuchs, that he killed the guy that he trained, Meyerback, who was essentially, him in a lot of ways. He killed that, and he is in an incredibly dark place, and he goes and he walks down that dark corridor.
Yeah, that's a nice shot. God, so Bill Hader directed the fuck out of this episode.
Yeah, that's great. Plot-wise, it's, again, fantastic.
Well, and they said afterwards, he said that at the beginning of the season, he's coming out of the darkness into the light. Now he's going in the light into the darkness. This episode has an epilogue. I consider an epilogue to it. Leo is helping out Gene, who's resting in bed and everything, and Gene just starts thinking about all the happy times with Janice and everything, and then ending on seeing the dead body, and then there's that great like gets closer and closer and closer, like he's remembering what Fuchs told him. First it's just a whisper, you're like, okay, what did he say? Then it's a little bit closer and it's like, okay, he said, what did he say? And then at the end he says, Barry Berkman did this. And Gene gets up and he's like, oh my God. And that's how the whole season ends. It reminds me a little bit of a reveal in Breaking Bad that happens with Hank.
When he's in the bathroom.
When he's in the bathroom.
Yep.
I love that scene too, because after Hank gets out of the bathroom, you hear Hank's wife say to say to Walt, "Oh, you're the devil." Just in a joking manner, but it's I love that, that little thing. Anyway, that was Breaking Bad. We'll be talking about be talking about that next. But no, yes, it ends on that, and that leaves you with a like, holy shit, what's actually going to happen from that? Is Gene going to think now Barry Berkman did this, or is he going to think that maybe Fuchs did it, because why does Fuchs know all this stuff and then just ran away and all that? Is he going to think about it that way?
There are so many different ways to take that. The first time I saw it, I thought he knows everything. He's put it all together. But now I'm thinking about it back, thinking maybe not.
Yeah.
Maybe he just gets bits and pieces. Maybe he thinks maybe he can talk himself out of this, especially if Barry starts to get a little bit of success. And that helps his ego.
Oh, that's nice. That's a nice interpretation.
Because I'm thinking either he gets swim instructors, or he, based on that, he gets a part.
Mm-hmm.
Something happens positive to him. Yeah, and that's good for Gene.
Yeah.
So what do we think is going to happen in season 3?
Yeah.
I think that Barry definitely gets swim instructors, but yeah, I think he also, if he doesn't get that, he's going to get something else.
Something happens.
He's going to get something that Jay Roach knows, somebody, he knows somebody, and they're going to get into something else. But I think his career is going to take off, and I think Sally's career is going to take off. And this has got to be like somewhat the end of their relationship, right?
I would think so.
I don't think she's going to feel that he provides her with anything anymore.
Yeah.
I think it becomes more competitive.
Yeah.
And she keeps that jealousy where he is able to do something. Maybe he's getting better roles than she is, even though she's getting better roles.
Yeah.
Something like that they're going to play around with.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, I can't really imagine the show without Gene and Barry having that relationship and everything. So I feel like Gene won't come to the conclusion, although he's got a lot of information in his head about him.
They do like to have cliffhangers on this show where it appears something huge is going to happen. Like at the end of episode 7, you think that Gene's going to get killed, or something is going to happen, and they kind of find their way out of it.
Yeah.
And we continue with these characters, changed, but still with the same characters. I feel they're going to do that with this.
Mm-hmm.
The characters are changing, for sure, but their roles are not going to be totally different.
Yeah.
So
we see in so many shows that it takes until season 3 to really hit its stride.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think this show has already hit its stride, so I can only imagine what the next step would be. Like if they really want to go anywhere, they could go to space. They're not in space. But they could go anywhere. They could go outside of Los Angeles. Everything has really happened besides the pilot episode in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
Or San Bernardino, I guess. But I'm so excited.
And we're going to have Batir basically become the new Goron, because Hank will have to be his right hand at this point, because they've blown away all the other Chechens.
He's got that great scene where
oh yeah,
he's standing behind the altar. He's like, but okay, and he laughs and he just takes the elevator down behind it.
Yeah.
And where is Fuchs going to be in all of this? He, of course, would still love to be with the Chechens, but I mean, I think a lot of the plot of episode 3 is going to be Barry trying to find Fuchs.
Well, yeah, and I think one of those guys that he ran off with was Cristobal. So if he aligns himself with the Bolivians. It's just, I can't wait. So they got approved for season 3 in April, so they may already be shooting for all I know. But hopefully it'll be soon.
Is he going to try to kill Fuchs but not be able to? That's what I keep thinking will happen, and that's why I think that maybe he paused in the raid, that he just couldn't quite bring himself to kill, the guy who got him discharged from the military and everything. That he has such an important relationship with. Does that continue on in season 3? I don't know. I think it might.
Yeah.
Did it bother any of you that nobody got killed?
Oh,
like none of the
main
important people got killed. I feel like in the first season, they didn't know if this was going to continue on, so they felt free to kill one of the main characters and make a really awesome ending. I was thinking that maybe this show would go there, that maybe they actually would kill Gene. But now they know they're going to have more seasons, and it's like that's off the table.
I think they could have gotten away with killing Fuchs.
Yeah.
In this thing, because there's really no reason for him to be here. I mean, he's obviously going to be behind the scenes. He's going to probably do something that gets back into Barry's, I guess Barry's consciousness of some sort. That I don't know if Barry goes after him though. I don't know if he's like going to be actively looking for him, or I think what's going to happen after this is he's going to have a lot of remorse about what he just did.
Yeah.
Because as you guys mentioned, once he goes past Meyerback and he sees what he's done, and he finally realizes, oh, these are actual people I knew that I just killed. He's going to get back to that. This is wrong, and that starting now type of thing. And so I don't know if I think he might get over the whole Fuchs thing. But Fuchs is going to have to find a way to somehow get back into the fray that gets on Barry's radar.
Maybe so. He is in such a dark place.
Mm-hmm.
He is literally walking into the dark at the end of it. That I could see him. I could almost see him wanting to get in to kill, maybe just to get Fuchs for revenge or whatever, and having Hollywood call to him, and where before he was trying to get away from being a hitman by being an actor, and the hitman stuff kept coming to him. Maybe those roles reverse, where now he is a violent man again, but Hollywood keeps calling him.
Yeah. Yeah, that sounds right. I mean, it sounds like a good arc for him.
I feel like this should get us into the writing room.
I think so.
I think so.
I feel like Bill Hader is listening to this right now. Alec Berg has been listening.
Right.
And they're going to say, you know what? You guys got some good ideas. And,
and look, these other writers, they're bullshit.
Yeah, they're bullshit.
Exactly. They've done a terrible job.
Disarm is bullshit.
They've done such a bad job that we've spent, 16 hours talking about the show.
I am totally clearing my schedule so we can write this on spec this afternoon. Guys.
Yes,
do it.
Absolutely.
Let's do it.
Yeah, and so then we stopped everything we were doing.
We want you all to know the podcast will not continue so that we can write the show.
We can write the show and then talk about it later. And then Barrett and I, we're just not doing the Sincast today.
Sorry.
We're going to be.
Jeremy will do it by himself.
Going to be in the middle of writing Barry season 3, episode 1. Anyway, that'll do it for this episode and this season. Where can people come and talk about this?
We want to hear from you. Come to SoundCloud and do some commenting there. Go to @NowStarting on Twitter. @MusicVideoSends is me. But yeah, we've been having a lot of good conversations. I'm sure people have opinions about this episode for sure. So get on there and we'll chat about it.
I really want to, it's going to be a while before we do this again. Really want to say this has been a lot of fun. I appreciate all of you listening. And, hopefully we'll be doing this for season 3.
Oh, yeah, baby.
Yeah, we will be.
Wait.
We're in too deep.
Yeah, exactly. As that wise Phil Collins once said.
I was thinking of Sum 41.
Oh yeah, that's right. Sum 41. Okay, that'll do it for this season, and we'll be back. Whatever. I guess it'll be next year.
Yeah.
This is Chris Atkinson, Barrett Scher, and Mike Hester. We'll see you next time.